Getting the boat ready. It's yesterday morning it was 29 degrees, a few below freezing, and today it's 10 degrees warmer, but it's still extremely cold. Ice all over the cover of the boat. It's going to be a cold start.
All right, here we go. Calling no stranger. The top 30s, top 20s, top 10s. Well known in the bass fishing world and well respected. Had 14.5 on day one, but 18 pounds even yesterday. Got him all the way up in the 9th place. He's got another 5 bass limit on day 3. 5 today worth. 12 pounds and 15 ounces has you at 7th.
I broke my PB three times this week. I love this lake.
Wow! What a beautiful spotted bass! Golly. Yeah, absolutely. Put her in there. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna go 412. What's your thoughts? Well, you already weighed him probably.
No, I didn't weigh it. I weighed one yesterday, 411, and I think that one's bigger, so.
Let me look one more time. 412.
Oh, no.
415. Dang it!
Almost 5 pound spotted bass. Alright guys, that wraps up number 3 on the FLW Tour, Lake Lanier, and I finally had a good event, come off back-to-back 100th position finishes down in Florida, and I made it my goal to make Lake Lanier the start of my year. I didn't want to let those 2 bad tournaments determine the rest of the year, and I went as hard as I possibly could and did everything I could do in my power to make sure that I got my year back on track, and we did that. We finished in 13th position. I missed the final day cut by a pound, but I'm absolutely stoked. I went from 133rd in points all the way to 74th, so made a huge jump in AOY points because the ultimate goal is to make the Forest Wood Cup, and we're on our way back. We're back on track, and excited for the rest of the year. This week was awesome. The spotted bass are as close to the Australian bass as I'm ever gonna get. They're as close to home as I'll get here in America. They just act a little bit similar, super clear water, finesse style fishing and power fishing at the same time, and I just love catching them. I think Lake Lanier is my new favorite lake of all time, and I just had an absolute blast this week. So in practice, we went from deep to shallow all week, and everything that I'd studied up on Lake Lanier, the ditches were a big deal in winter, and we found some fish in deep ditches, 25 to 30 feet, and we end up rolling just a slow roll, a swim bait through that. And for that outfit, I used a new rod from Miller Rods. It'll be out soon, but it's a cranking rod, but it's sort of also a ledge rod, but it's 8'6". And what that allowed me to do is go down those ditches and make massive long casts and cover so much ground. But when those finicky fish picked it up, I could feel them, and on the hook set on an 8'6", I caught up all that line from down deep on a huge cast. The hook set got them, and I just never lost a fish. The key with that was my Humminbird Lake Master mapping. It was phenomenal. Without that, I would not be I wouldn't have made the third day cut, I wouldn't have finished anywhere near. So I was all about that mapping, showing you the most detailed contour lines possible. It was phenomenal on this lake, and definitely a must. And then on top of that, I had the 360, and I'd never used it for this before, but it showed those ditches exactly where I wanted to cast. So the 360 showed the two sides up and down the contours, and then it showed that ditch so just perfectly. I could make every single cast right down the ditch that I wanted to be casting at. But that bite slowly went away, and for me, I think this whole week was just about staying on top of the conditions and not getting stuck on anything. So I just went fishing in the end. After day 2, I was sitting in 46, pretty good day with just over 14 pounds. And as that ditch bite went away, I realized I just had to go fishing and figure them out again, and just acted. It was just like practice. That's when I picked up, I made some really good adjustments. I picked up the crankbait, got some good bites on it in practice, but not a ton. Went to this clay rock point, great staging area for the big girls, and there just wasn't a ton of fish shallow, but the ones that were up there were big ones. They were those big staging females that were up there feeding and then ready to move up into the pockets. They were on the points. And for this one, the Rip Freak, Miller Rod Rip Freak, is one of my favorite all-time rods. It's generally like what we've created it for is like a jerk bait, lipless crankbait, stuff like that, but it is one of the best shallow water crankbait rods you can get. And I never lost a single fish. I felt every rock and every little thing as that crankbait just crawled over it, and I had to just stay super slow. And the parabolic bend of the Rip Freak, just once those hooks are in, those fish are done. You got every single one of them in. So that was the Miller Rod Rip Freak. Had the Shimano 150 XG Chronarch 10-pound fluorocarbon gamma, and just crawled that crankbait nice and slow down off those points, and just didn't set the hook, just let it load up, and it'd get spongy, and I'd keep winding, and those big spots would just crush that crankbait off the points. So that was the game-changing outfit for me this week, because all of my real big ones came on that. And then my last final punch was the spin outfit. It was the Bass Freak, Miller Rod Bass Freak spin, Stella 2500 braid to 8 and 10 pound leader combo, and the little tiny swim bait. The Molex Rashad, one of my favorite all-time clear water swim baits. Super finesse, super subtle. These fish chasing the blueback herring, love it. And I would just throw this up onto the wind-blown points and just give it a slow wind and a few little twitches and just crawl it back. And 2 of my big kickers on day 3 and day 2 came on the little swim bait. So in the end, it was all about the shallow water bite for me. The big ones were moving up, but just not enough of them for me to capitalise and put a big bag together. I needed to have those ditch fish stay together, as well as the shallow fish. But 13th position, Lake Lanier, my new favourite lake here in America. The keys were my Humminbird Lake Master mapping, the 360 to find those ditches, and also to find the right points leading into those spawning coves on the Lake Master, and then just having the right equipment and the right gear to hook those fish and put them in the boat. Just a phenomenal week. Look forward to Lake Cumberland up next. We're 74th in the points. We're scratching and clawing our way back, and just excited to get back on track with this year, and we're going to go and catch them at Lake Cumberland.